Welcome to the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show, where we make plant-based cooking easy. I'm Jill, and today we are making sauerkraut.
Grab a plate, 'cause it's the all-free whole food plant-based cooking show.
Okay, so sauerkraut. Why should we be eating sauerkraut? So sauerkraut is a fermented food, which means it's full of probiotics, and that is what's great for gut health. It's going to help you digest your food better and absorb nutrients from your food better. So, if you can, at some part of every day, include just a tablespoon, even just a tablespoon of some type of fermented food, like sauerkraut, kimchi, tempeh, things like that. Maybe just as a little condiment, somehow get those in there and your gut health is going to be super strong, and it's going to improve your digestibility and your health. So let's just get started. I'm going to show you what you're going to need. I just ordered this online and I've used it a couple times and it is genius. I love this guy. It's just the easy fermenter. It's just a lid that has all of the stuff in it that will allow the gases to escape. And what I was using before, is a little system with it's a lid with a hole in it with an airlock, and it's still, your container still bubbles over and it's a bit of a mess. But this guy controls all of that, and it has this handy dandy little sliding. You can set the date, and how long you want to ferment so you don't forget. It's great. So you're going to need something like that, or you can just do this with a typical old style fermenting crock. If somebody out there has one of those are great too. But I like these, but there's many different versions online. Just go ahead and look for it. But I'll give you a link to this one in the details below. You're gonna need a 2-quart size jar. You can make half this amount if you want. So half a cabbage, a 1-quart jar. But today we're gonna make the full cabbage into a 2-quart jar. And you're going to need salt. You can use many different types of salt, but the only one you cannot use is iodized salt. If you use iodized salt, the iodine ends up killing the enzymes that is what you want to have in your food. So we're just going to get going. So you're going to take your head of cabbage, and what we're going to do is we're going to take you rinse it off first, which I've already done, and we're going to take the 2 top leaves off, because we're going to need those later. And then just going to cut the core out. Set that aside. And then we're just going to start cutting it. I like to start by cutting it in half. It's just a little bit easier to work with if you just start with the half. And then we're just going to slice it. You can use a mandolin or you can use your knife, but you just want really, really thin slices, because you want to expose the cell wall, as much of the cell wall as you can of this cabbage, so that your sauerkraut ends up being really nice. And if your chunks are too big, then it ends up being kind of, it just doesn't get as soft. And it ends up being a little bit rubbery. So you want to get it in nice small pieces. And you're also going to need a nice big bowl, because we're going to have to massage all of this kale. I just said kale. You're going to have to massage all of this cabbage. I probably said that because I have a recipe for massaged kale, which is delicious, by the way, and you should check that out. Okay, I'm going to get the rest of this cut up, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, there's our whole cabbage. So we get that all in our bowl. Set this guy aside. And this part, so sauerkraut is definitely not a low sodium food. but you are only eating a teeny bit of it every day. And I've scoured the internet for ways to make this low sodium. I do make it a little bit lower sodium than normal, but there's no way to do it with, well, there is a way to do it without salt, but it's very difficult to control the bacteria growth. You want the good bacteria growth from the natural enzymes and bacteria that are on the cabbage. If you don't use salt, then what happens is the bacteria from the air can get in there and start overpopulating with a not good type of bacteria. So you want to keep this safe. We want to eat safe food. We don't want any weird molds growing in there, so we're going to use salt. So it takes 1 tablespoon. Okay, just going to sprinkle it on there. And we're just going to start massaging this cabbage. And this is going to take you a while, and it's going to take some hand strength. But you want to just keep massaging, because that is what's going to break this cabbage down and make it really nice and soft and get the juices to come out, which is called the brine. And that is what's going to be in the jar that I'll show you in a little bit. So you just want to keep massaging and massaging and massaging until that juice starts coming out and pooling in the bottom of the bowl. And I'll show you when that happens. While we're waiting for that, I would like to share with you some of the exciting things we offer here on the show. Our official website, plantbasedcookingshow.com, offers hundreds of our original free step-by-step video recipes, as well as tips and resources for everyday plant-based living. For more in-depth learning, we created the 28 Days Plant-Based Made Easy course, which will teach you everything you need to know to successfully transition to a plant-based diet in 28 days. The course includes weekly meal plans and shopping guides, 65 tasty video recipes, and daily learning materials from our most trusted plant-based resources. For big holiday meals, we created the Plant-Based Holiday Feast Made Easy cooking class. This course is an in-depth 2-hour real-time cooking class where I walk you through making a delicious 8-dish holiday meal that's perfect for Thanksgiving and Christmas style feast. All of our classes offer lifetime access, so you can take your time and work through them at your own pace and revisit them as much as you like. Our Plant-Based Made Easy community offers our basic free membership that is free for life and is great for staying in the loop, and our Legends membership for $15 a month that offers instant access to all of our digital products, including our 28-day course and holiday feast cooking class, our growing line of printable cookbooks, wholesale discounts on our branded apparel, and named credit in the show. Okay, let's get back to the show. Okay, we're finally there. All right, so if you want to come in and take a little closer look, I'll show you about how much liquid needs to be down in that bowl. See how much liquid that is? It's probably about a cup worth of liquid at least. You know, and there's more. If you squeeze this cabbage like this, you can see how much is dripping out. It's amazing how that works, right? Okay. Whew, my arms are tired. Okay, now for the next part. So we're gonna bring our jar over here. And yes, this is messy, but afterward you can wipe everything down and clean it off. So now you just start putting the cabbage in there, in your bottle. You just keep layering it in there, and then you want to tamp it down. You get a layer like that, and then you want to tamp it down. And I don't have the fancy schmancy little wooden tool that they use to tamp it down, so I just use my fist. You just push it down real hard.
Vicky, can I help you with that Kool-Aid? Please?
Into the bottom, and you can see the juice. The juice will start coming up around, and that's what you want. Because when you're putting all this cabbage in there, the key to it fermenting correctly without getting any bad bacteria in it is that it needs to stay below that liquid line. And you can't just add water. This has to be, you know, this is the brine, the salty brine from, I suppose you could make a brine on the side and pour it in there, but you know, this is the traditional way. This is the way you want to do it. So keep pushing that down. And it looks like this is a, you know, maybe a too big of a jar for this process. But if you use a smaller jar, you know, you want to keep about that much space, a good 2 inches below the lid, because the cabbage is going to expand a little bit. And if you don't give it room to expand, it'll be a mess. Even with this fancy lid on there, I don't know how well it would do. Okay, so we got our cabbage. Now we're just gonna pour the rest of that brine in there. Cabbage, set that aside. Make sure we get all this off the walls. Push it so the liquid is coming up to the top. Yeah, that looks perfect. All right, now for these extra cabbage leaves. So you want to take just a couple chunks, you know, the bigger, thicker stuff. You can fold it over a couple times. Maybe we don't need 2 pieces, maybe just the 1 leaf is good enough. We're going to stick that down on top of that and press it down. That's going to help the cabbage stay down below that line. I'm going to use the other piece too, just as a double. Stick that on there. And typically you need a weight. The old crock style things have a weight that sits on top that keeps it down tight like that. But I don't have the weight. So I found this landscaping rock. I just scrubbed it off really great. Some people said you can put a Ziploc bag in there. You layer it down in there and then you fill the bag halfway with water, and that water pressure will keep that, act like a weight. But I'm going to use my rock here, just on top of that. Press it down good. Okay. And then we're going to wipe off the rim of that lid and put our lid on. But first I'm going to put the date on there, and I'm going to start out with a 1-week process. You can go from 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It really matters just how strong you like your sauerkraut, or really sour. I like it kind of mild, but this time I did this one for a week, and I think this one I'm going to try for 2 weeks and just see what happens. So I'm going to set that for 2 weeks from now, and then we're just going to screw that lid on. Okay, there we go. And then you want to just put this out of the way on your countertop. And it's really, your house needs to be above 70 degrees. If it's not above 70 degrees, this process is going to happen really, really slow, which is still okay. But it's really the happiest where it's, you know, 70, 75 degrees. So we're just going to set it out of the way on the countertop and just let it sit. So this guy, oh, and if you want to test it, after a week to see if it's sour enough, you take the lid off, and inside the box, well, I guess I haven't gotten it out yet, they have this little, it's a little plunger vacuum sealer that goes in the top of here to reseal the jar. Because once you open that jar, you're exposing it. That oxygen is going to get in there, which means bacteria. So you'll seal it back up. If it's not done, give it a couple good pumps, and then it'll set it back on the counter. But here I have my sauerkraut that's already finished, and it's a week old, and you can see the difference in the color here. It starts out bright green like this, and you know it's close to finished when it starts turning this color. It's more of a, it's just a really light yellow almost. So we're gonna give that a taste. And you never want to stick that back in the jar, but crunchy, juicy, Not too tart, because I only did it for a week. And even with that amount of salt, it doesn't taste too salty to me. So give this a try, guys. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.